As Rotary, we often ask ourselves, how do we grow, personally, professionally and organisationally? The answer is simple. To grow Rotary, we need more Rotary clubs. Let's use Anytown as an example. Anytown is a city of 100,000 people and a home to one proud Rotary club. But there are hundreds of other people of action, just like us, who are uniquely qualified to become Rotary members. They share the same drive and represent the values and fundamentals of a Rotary member. So why aren't they members? Well, the current club meets on Monday. There are leaders in Anytown who can't meet on a Monday. By excluding this segment, the potential members in Anytown has shrunk. Now consider, what if the meeting is at noon on Monday? There are people who can meet on Monday but can't meet at noon. So now we have a smaller audience for Rotary in Anytown. Of the remaining group, some aren't interested in a club with a sit-down lunch and speakers. They're passionate about service but aren't interested in a traditional club experience, and that is okay. The Rotary Club of Anytown isn't doing anything wrong. It just doesn't appeal to particular segments of the community. And if we are going to thrive for years to come, we must adapt and embrace change. In Anytown, we have an opportunity to expand, because potential members are everywhere. More than half of the eligible people are prospective Rotary members, waiting to make a bigger impact in their community. But what Rotary Club exists for them? If Anytown creates new clubs at new times and new places, the hidden potential for Rotary will be revealed. As people of action, we must broaden our reach and provide opportunities to all leaders in the community. Together, all of us can grow Rotary.
Україна похилилася. Чогось наша славна Україна зажурилася. А ми тую червону калину піднімемо, а ми нашу славну Україну гей, гей, розвеселимо. Rot blüht auf der Wiese die Kalina, wer hat sie gebeugt? Einst in voller Pracht die Ukraine, grad so sorgenvoll. Rot will einmal wieder die Kalina
past President Dennis Spiller, and it's my pleasure to be your chairman for this event and to welcome you to the second South West and Southern Wales multi-district Presidents-elect training, where we can grow stronger together. With 4 districts participating in this event and some 150 clubs represented. Multi-district PETS is a real bonus outcome of the new GBI district cluster model, and we promise you speakers and discussions that you would not previously have had the opportunity to share. We're all aware that a good percentage of you have been club president is in an earlier year, or maybe you're doing a second consecutive year. But times change and new ideas emerge, and the structure of this event will offer plenty of opportunity to share best practice and to learn from each other.
God.
Before we hear from the first speaker, it falls to me to cover some housekeeping rules that apply for the duration of the event. Are you home alone? If so, then please leave the name and number of a contact in the chat so that we can make contact if someone is observed to be in distress. This request is actually based on real experience. Your screen name. Please use the rename option via the 3 little dots at the top right of your own video image. So if you move the mouse over that image, you'll see 3 little dots appear at the top. And please make sure that you use the rename option to not only include your name, but your club. The main plenary sessions of this event will be recorded to enable those that were unable to attend to catch up, or for those of you who wish to watch it again. The recordings will be placed onto a Rotary YouTube channel, which will be shared with you all after the event and after they've all been uploaded. Breakout sessions are not recorded. Now, questions. We have a number of speakers who you will be able to provide some questions for. The time for questions and answer is quite limited, but please use the Q&A icon at the bottom of the screen to put any questions into the box that you wish to be asked. It is limited time and we won't be able to ask them all probably, but we have a question master, aka past District Governor Chris Davies, and she'll gather those questions and ask them on your behalf during the session. Raised hands will be ignored because we just won't have time. Breakouts. Well, Zoom offers us the chance to meet in breakout groups. Little rooms that you'll be in, and you'll be transferred as if by magic to a room which will have a facilitator associated with it to lead you through some discussion topics. Groups will be around 10 to 15 people in each room, and that gives you full visibility, so you'll all be able to see each other on a single screen. So please take advantage of the chance to participate in these discussions and to share your thoughts, because you'll have experience that others will certainly benefit from. Allocation to the rooms is totally random, so expect to join different groups and different groups of people each day. Now, there may be visiting observers in the rooms, and they'll have observer as part of their name on their screen. I remind them that they are there to listen and learn for future events and to remain as observers unless invited specifically to offer input by the facilitator. The facilitator will explain the hands up feature to you all so that you can gain attention during discussions. As I say, the groups will be small enough to be able to cope with that. And that will also have the facilitator will also have a link back to the main room here if they need help or require an answer to a question. Now, I'm now delighted to introduce to you your 4 district governors elect. That's Anne Bartholomew, Mary Adams, Stuart Gilbert and David Glover. DGEs, over to you for your brief introduction, after which DGE David will introduce the video from our Rotary International President-elect, Gordon McAnally.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Anne Bartholomew, Governor-elect from District 1100, which stretches from Herefordshire and Worcestershire in the north, across Cheltenham, Gloucester, the Cotswolds, and into Bristol and North Somerset. I am delighted that you are joining us for these cluster President-elect training seminars so that we can share ideas and experiences across 4 districts rather than working in isolation. Cluster working is clearly the way forward, and over the coming months, You will learn more about the benefits of such an approach within Rotary Great Britain and Ireland. And I look forward to working with many of you during my Rotary year. Thank you.
Good evening, Rotarians. My name is Mary Adams. I'm District Governor-elect for Southern Wales. It is my pleasure to be here this evening with you all at our second multi-district PETS event. District 1150 runs from Milford Haven in the west, Newport in the east, Aberystwyth in the northwest, and Knighton in the northeast. Southern Wales has a wonderful diverse landscape with 2 national parks, the UK's largest energy port at Milford Haven and the steelworks at Port Talbot, this week given Freeport status. We have more castles per square mile than any other country in the world. We are famous for leeks, daffodils, and of course, Gareth Bale.
I think Mary's finished. So my name is Stuart Gilbert. I'm District 1200, and I'm delighted that you're here this evening. Welcome to each and every one of you. Dennis mentioned a little earlier that you will have a great opportunity this weekend to talk together in small breakout rooms, and we want you to really take advantage of this. Now, if you're a first-time president, please be bold, please speak out. We want to hear your ideas. We want to hear what you've got to say. And if you've already been a president at your club in the past, then please do share some of your experience, share some of your wisdom. We really want to hear from you too. We hope you'll enjoy this weekend together. And last but not least, here's David Glover.
That must be me then. Good evening, everyone. David Glover, Rotary District 1175, Devon and Cornwall. So like my fellow district governors for 23-24, and on behalf of District 1175, just to welcome you and to share this opportunity of the training and the preparation event that we have programmed for you. You believe Rotary needs to be changed, and let's make it change. Let's make it happen. Please remember that we are stronger together. This is our theme for this evening and will be for our multi-district conference, which is in June 2024. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker, our first speaker for the evening. And despite his incredible busy schedule, Rotary International President-elect Gordon McAnally has sent his personal message to us tonight. I do believe that as we speak here this evening, meeting together, that he is in North Carolina in the USA. Gordon is a member of the Rotary Club of South Queensbury, Lothian, Scotland. That's in Rotary District 1020, which is soon to become District 1320 when District 1030 and District 1010 amalgamate and become 1320. Gordon, a graduate of dental surgery at the University of Dundee, owned and operated his own dental practice in Edinburgh. He was the chair of the East Scotland branch of the British Podentic Society and has held various academic positions. He has also served as the Presbytery Elder, chair of Queensborough Parish Congregational Board, and a commissioner to the General Churches Assembly. A Rotary member since 1984, Gordon has been president and vice president of Rotary International in Great Britain and Ireland. He has also served Rotary International as the director and as a member of chair of several committees. He is currently an advisor and chair of the Operations Review Committee, and Gordon and his wife Heather are major benefactors to the Rotary Foundation. They are also members of the Bequest Society. As you will all probably know by now, Gordon's theme for his year is to create hope in the world. And we're going to see some of those events that he has been touched by, which has caused him to create this theme for this year. So if I can ask Phil Dyer to introduce the video now, please. Thank you very much.
Hello. It's great to have the opportunity to spend a little time with you at this multi-district PETS event. I'm sorry that yet again it's only in a virtual capacity. As I speak to you in this recorded video, I am currently in North Carolina, USA at another multi-district PETS event. I know it's tough, but somebody has to do it. I'm delighted that multi-district pets is catching on so much within Great Britain and Ireland. I really do believe that they are the way forward as far as preparing for your year as a club leader. And I want to pay tribute to Chris Davis for all the work that she has done in collaborating with districts around Great Britain and Ireland to ensure that these sort of events are happening. I only have a few minutes with you today, but I thought it might be interesting to share with you how I came about the theme that you can see on the screen behind me, and the theme that you must all know by now, the theme Create Hope in the World. The creation of an annual theme for Rotary is a very interesting exercise, and it is entirely in the hands of the person who will be serving as president. The first thing you are told is that it will live with you forever. It will appear on your tombstone, they say. Well, sincerely, that is some way off yet. But how do you come up with something that will live with you forever and appear on your tombstone? Over many years, I've been fortunate to see with my own eyes the change that Rotary can make in people's lives. I've seen how Rotary can lift them up, often from the most hopeless of situations, and improve their lives in so many different ways. Many of you will have heard me speak about different examples of that. I spoke about the lady from Thailand and the shell that I have in my home here in Scotland at the International Assembly. I also spoke about Mary in Rwanda, who has also been given hope thanks to Rotary. But today I'd like to tell you about Espérance. For those of you who are linguists, you will know that Espérance is in fact the French word for hope. But Heather and I first met Espérance in 2007. She was an orphan of the Rwandan genocide of the mid-1990s, and when we first met her, she was at the age of around 16, head of her household, caring for a brother and 2 sisters. And at that time, she was being helped through school by a joint project between Rotary here in Great Britain and Ireland and Hope and Homes for Children. The project was known as Rotary's Africa Hope. We next met Espérance a couple of years later when she was about to finish school, and she was very keen to go on to further education. But funding for that was unavailable, and it looked as if she would miss out on the opportunity and would, like many of her peers, have to scramble to survive. Heather and I quickly decided that we would support her through her further education, and she enrolled at university in Kigali. It all went well for the first 3 years of her 4-year course, until during her final year, she was mugged on her way to pay her university fees, and despite repeated attempts to contact her, dropped off our radar. Having not heard from her for some time, she got in touch with us again just around the time I was nominated to be RI President, to say how grateful she had been to us for what we had done for her all these years ago. She spoke about how when she was first supported by Rotary, she was at rock bottom, with no future, with no hope, but that the support she had been given had given her hope, hope for a future that until then she could not have imagined. She also spoke about how much she would like to complete her final year at university. I took the liberty of contacting the Rotary Club of Kigali Virunga to see if they would help. And without hesitation, they took Espérance under their wing and helped her back into education and supported her through her final year of studies. I'm delighted to tell you that Espérance graduated on the 16th of December last year and has not long started her first real job. The hope she had craved has been fulfilled. The self-respect to which she was entitled had been created. So in crafting what is not just my theme, but is our theme, I wanted to drill down to what we are all about. I wanted to issue a call to action. And I thought of that serendipitous message I had from Esperance back in the late summer of 2021 and realised that hope is truly what we are all about. It is the building block on which all our Rotary service is founded. I close as I began by thanking you for the commitment you make to serve, and I wish you every success during the year. I sincerely hope, and in fact I know, that at some point during the next 12 months we will have the chance to meet face to face. But for now, enjoy the multi-district pets. Make sure that you speak with each other, learn from each other, and make sure that we create hope in the world during the next Rotary year. Thank you very much indeed.
Well, thank you, Gordon, for setting the scene for the Rotary year 23-24. Having listened to Gordon in Orlando at the International Assembly, he is such an inspiration and a great storyteller based on his own experiences. His theme of create hope in the world is really a call for action, as he said, and what Rotary is all about. It is the building block for our Rotary service, and I hope that you will all soon appreciate just how we can help to change people's lives in whatever way we can. Having met Gordon in Orlando, I do hope that many of us will have that opportunity to meet Gordon face to face during the year as International President. He did promise, so we keep our fingers crossed. Now, far closer to home and part of District 1100 is Nikki Scott, our next speaker. Nikki is a member of North Cotswolds Rotary Club, but more importantly, is the Rotary International Vice President for 2022-23. I know that Nikki is thoroughly enjoying her year standing by the side of Rotary's first female president, international president, Jennifer Jones, in a monumental year. Nikki is passionate about Rotary and is committed to moving our organisation forward. For me, in District 1100, Nikki is my inspiration, and I'm certain she will continue Gordon's theme of creating hope in the world. Welcome, Nikki, and we look forward to hearing your message tonight.
Thank you, Anne. That's a really warm, lovely introduction. It is an absolute pleasure to be here with you all. It looks like there's an incredible number of faces on the screen. I love the fact we're in meeting mode because I can scroll through and see so many familiar faces, which makes it all the more welcoming and special. So yeah, little wave there. Thanks. I like that, Wendy. It really is a joy, of course, because this is my area, as Anne said, and I want to start by congratulating all of you who are taking the role of club president this year. I still maintain that it is the most important role in the whole of the Rotary world. I mean, no disrespect to your incoming governors, though, by the way. So congratulations to all of you, Anne, Mary, David and Stuart. I must admit, I was in Orlando when they were at International Assembly, and I take it from me, they passed. So you're in good hands. So we're all good there. And I love this theme of Stronger Together. It is so part of my DNA to talk about how we work better together and we are stronger together, and we can then build forward better. Gordon, as well, all of the governor-elects have said already, Gordon gave us a fantastic message for this coming year. And I can't think of the better timing for it. I mean, there's so much need. I think the world needs us now more than ever, quite honestly. And in the wake of the pandemic and everything that's brought to us with a rise in domestic abuse, mental health issues, anxiety and isolation, we've of course still very sadly just surpassed the 1-year anniversary of Ukraine. And that's not just the only war that's existing in the world today. On top of that, all of these increased natural disasters, the horrendous earthquake in Turkey and Syria, and not so long ago, the floods in Pakistan, which seem so far and distant now. But actually, I had the pleasure of traveling to Pakistan myself in December. And I say the pleasure, I have to say it's probably one of the hardest trips I've ever done. It knocked me for six in terms of the emotional impact of seeing so much devastation. And I know it's easy to think, well, they got flooded, so surely the waters have gone. But every single thing they owned was washed away, their homes, their livestock, their goods, their, you know, so much of that, and also all the topsoil. So they can't even plant any crops and start again. And of course, we mustn't forget that this is so critical. Pakistan is so critical in our war to end polio. And we really need to do something to make sure that that initiative doesn't go backwards. Because how many of you had a chance to see on any social media or hear anything of Jennifer's speeches from the House of Commons? I know Dave King was there, and he's going to write a fantastic article. I see you there, Dave. So you will find out about it. But Aidan O'Leary was there from the World Health Organization, and he said that they've never looked harder to trace any cases, and they are not finding anything so far this year. So can we just have a little round of applause? I know you're on mute, but let's do it anyway. Okay, because that is really amazing. I mean, we've been at this long enough, right? So to think we're really that close is amazing. It was a very special assembly this year. I've had the privilege of attending many over the years, and I have to tell you, Gordon shared a very personal story about his brother Ian, and somebody who he grew up with, obviously, but he lost to suicide. I'm just going to say it. And absolutely nobody had any idea in the family that that was coming. And I know that many of us, I think, on this meeting tonight, will have been touched in some way by some sort of mental health issues within the family, even just depression, even just the isolation of the pandemic or loss of loved ones. And it really created an incredible atmosphere at Assembly, because it sort of opened a floodgate in giving people, with Gordon, our incoming president, standing on the stage discussing that. And remember, this is an international event across all of the cultures, across all of the world, which was definitely not that open in some areas. But he did so, and it gave everyone else permission to start sharing their own stories. And I have to say, it took me aback a little bit, because my mum was a sufferer of bipolar depression. She was manic depressive, and I lost my mum when I was just 20 years old. And I don't think, you ever quite get over some sort of personal loss to that extent. And so when everyone else gives you permission to basically air those emotions, it makes a huge difference. And I think this is so important that he's now created a call to action for us. He very eloquently explained, he is a fantastic speaker, as Anne said, and he very eloquently explained how, we've got the NHS infrastructure, albeit struggling under the heaviness of the pandemic, but there is an infrastructure. However, in mental health issues, there's none. And he's asking all of us as Rotarians and people of action to help create a structure that doesn't exist and be there to actually destigmatize having the conversations around it. I know we've got plenty of needs in the world around us, but there's also needs in our own backyards. And I can tell you that last night in my very own village, there was a meeting held by the farmers' secretaries of the area, and Stuart Gilbert was kind enough to come up and attend that too. And Stuart, was amazing, wasn't it, to listen to the need in these rural communities. There's incredible increasing suicides by farming communities because of the increase in prices, the squeeze on the margins, the isolation, the cost of equipment, the loss of subsidies. The needs are endless. And so I think it would be wonderful if we could not only look in our towns and our cities, but in our particular corner of Great Britain and Ireland, there's a lot of needs in these rural communities, and there's a lot that we can do to help there. As you probably know, Gordon is an ambassador for the Bipolar UK, and we now have a partnership with Bipolar. There was a launch of that at Houses of Parliament last year, and several people were there. And they have got an incredible website. If you haven't checked into it, have a look. And it has what they call a mood awareness app. Very easy to figure out and download. And part of the things that we can do is to train ourselves and train our club members to become first aid responders in some ways. I don't know how many of you ever did sort of first aid awareness when you started babysitting. It might be more relevant to the ladies among us maybe than the men, but I bet some of you babysat. And we had to go and do sort of first aid courses to make sure we didn't kill anyone in the process when we took on these babysitting roles, right? That's a good idea. But there's also mental health awareness, and it just really helps to raise our own ability to see the signs and to be able to know who to refer these people to. We don't have to all get certified in psychology. That would be asking too much, but we can offer help and offer support. Lots of things to think about there. So in Orlando, President-elect Gordon also did an incredible job of reinforcing the importance of continuity. I've never seen it before, but he had both President Jennifer and President nominee Stephanie on stage with him at the same time. And I think that is just so refreshing to see. You'll notice that, you may not have noticed, but there have been a lot of changes in Great Britain and Ireland to really try and do the same thing. Our regional board is trying to reinforce this concept of continuity by having a 3-year rotating board serving so that they can make more strategic decisions and have more context of what happened in the past instead of go left one year, go right the next. Look at the wonderful way in which your governors-elect are collaborating to offer you this multi-district PETS and share resources, share expertise, leverage the opportunity to bring in other speakers, all for your benefit, to give more value to your members and your own membership. And I think that's so important to get that message across. I know that hopefully by now you will have heard our new vision statement. Can you bear it if I say it? Because I'm going to. Together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities and in ourselves. We don't talk about that enough, do we? We don't talk about the impact of Rotary. Let me just see by a show of hands, who thinks Rotary has given extra quality of life to their life, or given them experiences they would never have had elsewhere? Oh, lots of hands going up now. I like to see that. That means you're all still awake. That's a good sign. So yeah, I mean, and it's like, why don't we tell people about that? All we've got to do is share those stories. So when somebody asks you what's Rotary, just start by saying it's the best decision I've ever made, and then wait, because then the person's going to say, oh, why is that then? Then you can tell them how it's impacted your life. It doesn't matter whether you're in the supermarket, at the checkout, bumping into somebody in the car park, who knows? Just be ready to share your story. And the more people that know about it, the better, because we're still way too much of a well-kept secret. In addition to our vision, though, we've got 4 priorities: to increase our impact, to expand our reach, bring more people in, enhance participant engagement, because it's a good idea to keep them once we've brought them in too, right, as to the extent we can, and to increase our ability to adapt. And I really, really encouraged by how much energy there is now across these islands to think differently. I know Phil, bless him, had that theme many years ago. He brought that to the table, but we're doing it now. And I think this pandemic, as hard as it was, has given us the ability to look beyond the club wall, look beyond the district wall, even look beyond our country borders. To be honest, we can jump on a meeting anywhere in the world if you feel like it. You could get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you'd find a Rotary meeting happening somewhere that you could join. I don't really suggest that, but there is, and I'm sure many of you have had a chance to see that we're part of this Rotary enormous global network of 1.4 million Rotarians at the same time for absolutely no extra money. How fab is that? So I would ask you all as club presidents to go back to your clubs and ask your members, how many of them have popped into a different Rotary meeting somewhere else to learn how other clubs do it, whether it's in our own islands or whether it's abroad. You're always welcome. That's a wonderful thing. We all share the same values and you feel this immediate sense of community and connection. And I don't think we can replace that. So let's think about how you can embrace these 4 priorities in your club. How can you increase your impact? Does your community know what you do? Would they notice if you weren't there? It's a shocking question, isn't it? I know you all do incredible work, but how good are we at telling the story? Do we ever get outside? Do they see us in the street picking up litter with good Rotary Pride wear on, you know, our lovely badges and our logos, which we love to share? And how do we work with other partners? All of these lovely charities that we give so much money to. When do we ask to be invited to their meetings to tell them about Rotary? They're very good about asking to come to our meetings to ask for money. How about we turn the tables and do it the other way around and talk about how they could benefit from joining Rotary? And then service projects, huge fan of service, as well as writing checks to other charities. That's great too. But if we only ever write checks to other charities, everyone can do that anyway. So what difference is it happening? What difference are we making as Rotarians if we don't multiply that money through our foundation, which is sat there waiting to multiply your money? We don't use the foundation enough. And by the way, it may be news to some of you, but the money doesn't always have to go abroad. It can just as easily come this way. And I know there's precedents set for that because we've done joint projects, because guess what? We can do joint projects between Wales and England. It's all there ready, waiting to happen. And I know there are people on this call who can give you some ideas on how to follow through on that. If not, so ask about it in your breakout sessions. I want to draw to a close, so we've got some time for questions. And I just want to tell you about how Rotary has been a gift to my life. It really is the gift that just keeps giving, not just for me, but for my family. I joined Rotary when I was just 35, and I joined outside of Chicago, which is where Rotary started in 1905. And some of you may have heard that I had the opportunity to take my children. I think some of you may have heard this story before now, but I know there's a lot of new people on the call. So if you'll forgive me, I'm going to say it again to those of you who already heard it. But I took the children when they were just 13 and 11 on an international project in Zambia, Africa, where their father happened to have been born. So it was a very personal trip. Clearly, we funded our own way, but we went on a needs analysis, and it was the most memorable trip. It was incredible. And it shaped so much of what they did in applying to universities and pretty well their whole philosophies on life. But I won't get dragged into all those details right now. What I would like to do is to share a slightly different story, which is 10 years on from that trip. My daughter, Chloe, was home from college, and she asked me if she could come to my club meeting. And I met outside of Chicago because I think I'm not sure if I said this already, but I spent 25 years living in Chicago, and hopefully my English accent's back in full force now. So I've been back since 2018. But anyway, she said to me, can I come to club? And I thought, that's a bit odd. Why would you do that? You're a student. Why would you get up early? I was a 7 a.m. meeting. I thought this is all very strange. Well, little known to me, she had asked to be the speaker quietly because she grew up with this club from when she was a young girl. And before I knew it, there she was at the podium, reading an extract of a letter that she had written to my club members. And I would like to read an extract of that to you tonight. And I would like to ask you, as I'm reading it, to imagine that she's saying this to you in your club. I was never a project in your eyes. I was never a goal or a beneficiary of a fundraiser. Yet I, along with many, may be one of your most underestimated accomplishments. While you were focused on improving an individual in need's home, I was learning dedication. While you were focused on serving the homeless, I was experiencing empathy. While you were focused on throwing outstanding events in order to raise funds for countless causes, I was helping sweep the floors, being shown that no task is too menial for anyone. While you were focused on providing clean water, basic education, and self-sufficiency to rural villages in Zambia, I was taught gratitude in the most humbling way any 11-year-old could ever experience. It is not just the people you serve or the beneficiaries of your funds that benefit from your service above self, but the many others you inspire to do the same. And I ask you, hang on, I've lost a place now. That's weird. I was just looked up for a second. So I ask you to never stop doing what you're doing. Never lose your heart, your passion and drive. If it was not for you, I would not have been an international volunteer enthusiast, a non-profit leadership and management major, and know that I want to dedicate my life to international sustainable development. still brings a little bit of a tear to my eye. But I tell you, it is just that gift. And I think, you know, we don't stop and reflect on that well enough. And I know we love to talk about membership and increasing our numbers, and we so need to do that. We so need to do it, because this is such a gift. We have to make sure that it doesn't die out over time. We've got to make sure we're around for another 100 years of service. So my last question to you all is, who have you given the gift to? Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki, for your passion and enthusiasm. I'm sure you'll welcome now some questions from our president-elects, which Chris Davis will coordinate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nikki. As always, lots of enthusiasm. You started this talk by saying the president is the most important role. We have a question that says, so what do you mean by that?
Well, we are a conglomerate of multiple clubs that serve our communities. Without the people and members and the clubs, the communities wouldn't even know we exist. That's where the work gets done. That's where the rubber hits the road. So it's your relationships in your own communities that are so important. And you as a leader, it's your job to inspire your members, to help infuse them with energy, to help listen to them maybe, and ask them for their ideas and lift them up. I always say the best leaders make sure they create more leaders, not followers. So that is why your role this year is so critical. And I have to say, I remember vividly in serving as a club president back in 2009-10, I was at a multi-district Pets myself in Chicago, and I heard a very young governor on stage say he got so much praise from being the youngest governor and everyone thought it was marvelous, but he said it wasn't. He said, I didn't lead, I managed the status quo. Such an important difference to whether you're going to lead or whether you're going to manage the status quo. And quite frankly, we can't afford for you to do the latter. So listen to your members, find out what their passions are, tap into them, and make sure that you can get as many of your members rowing together, doing some work and rowing together in the same direction. And if they're too tired because they've done a good job and they've really just a little bit past it, then make sure we help with planting a new club. Create a satellite, create an impact club, help plant a new club not far away, and then bring those members in to work on some projects and bring their energy to the table with you. So I maintain your role is the most important role in the Rotary, because you are the face to our communities.
Thank you, Nikki. We have another question, which is aligned to that, really. You talked about continuity being really important, as indeed did Gordon. What can our presidents do to have continuity, not just within our club, but in our areas and in our clusters?
Yes, well, I guess it depends how big your club is. If you've got a club of 5, anyone here got a club of 5? I'm hoping I'm not going to see any hands right now. There might be a few. It's hard, isn't it? Because you've got so many people carrying too much weight. But the more people you have, the more you can share the load. And if you've got a membership chair in your club, don't just have one membership chair. Have a membership chair and somebody who's supporting the membership chair who can then take over from that membership chair. And make sure you're working with the club presidents from the past to learn from them, but making sure you're identifying who has got the potential in your club to serve as a future club president. I've heard so many sad stories about clubs just not being able to encourage anyone to take the leadership role. But I think that comes down to the fact that we're not focusing on enough value add, and we need a little bit of infusion of new energy. And we shouldn't just think about, well, they can't be club president until they've been here for a huge number of years. They can. We should be focusing on skills-based appointments. So make sure you're doubling up as much as you can. You're working well with your past president, your future presidents, and you're looking to spot talent and create pathways for future leaders to come to the table too.
Thank you. Have we time for one more?
I suppose one other bit in that, Chris, is having a club action plan too.
Yeah.
So instead of 1 year, you know, I really struggle when I hear somebody say my year. You know, I don't know if you noticed, but Gordon said our theme. It's not his theme, it's our theme. And I know we love these changes of themes, but that's almost more reason to have continuity and talk about how it's our club plan, and knowing that, you know, that sort of plan and what you start this year won't just be scrapped at the end of the year and have a different something come start all over again. So build on the shoulders of those that have become before you, just as I've had the privilege to do in my role.
Thank you, Nikki. We've been talking about the sadness of mental health and indeed suicide. A lot of us here live in wonderful rural areas, but I'm told that farmers have one of the highest rates of suicide, and I think the second is dentists. So this is something that Gordon will be aware of as well. How can we make ourselves open enough to spot when people are lonely and when they are in trouble?
Well, it starts by making sure we're outside, doesn't it? And we're not staying in our own homes. It starts by being out in the community. We're very good at talking to ourselves, but how much do we get out into the community? At this meeting last night, a lot of the farmers, administrators and secretaries were saying how important local food markets, local markets, you know, do you remember the markets in the village and the town? That's where everyone used to come together and buy a loaf of bread and then pop down, have a cup of tea and have a chat. But if we don't have those personal connections, it's very easy to get very lonely and depressed. And I think, you know, when I moved to Chicago, I was so grateful when I found Rotary, because it felt like I had a community that was missing. I'd left all my family back here in England, but suddenly I had a community and I was surrounded by people who felt like family. Any single one of them would have got up in the middle of the night if I was stranded on a motorway. They would have done that for me. And that was huge. So think of all these people who have lost loved ones, who are living on their own, are sat in isolated conditions, especially aging communities, the struggle with home care and people with dementia and Alzheimer's. What can we do to reach out to them? And who's to say we couldn't get some of them involved in Rotary and creating a cause-based club? We're doing a bipolar cause-based club that's going to go all the way across the islands. Why can't we do cause-based clubs for dementia? I know, Mary, you have this lovely thing called the Memory Cafe, and playing music and how much that brings people alive. And that's actually, maybe I'll end on that one. We had a district event the other day, and I heard a fantastic way to bring a bit of life to a Rotary meeting. And it's have a member share 3 songs that they really love and why at each meeting. And so you get to create a bond and an understanding, and music is such a universal language. I just thought that was a really cool idea. So thank you for letting me share that one.
Thank you, Nikki. We've had another question, which is around diversity. I'm going to read this verbatim. I look at the Rotarians on the call in our club and do not see the diversity of our local populations or this area. The 3 districts will serve.
Yeah,
I think behind that is obviously that they're looking for us to perhaps become more diverse.
Oh my goodness. I mean, we've been saying it for years, haven't we, that we need to be as diverse as the communities we serve. People won't join us if they can't see reflections of themselves in the clubs. So, you know, I know there are some innovative ways being approached to do that. In 1070, it's your district, Chris. I know that a past Governor David Morris, and this was on the Spring 1000 membership video, which I thoroughly recommend you all go and watch, by the way, because there's some fabulous tips on how to enhance membership. And it's all available on a website page now with additional resources for you, and fact that you can actually claim some money. Money is available for you to help do this. Stuart was telling me last night about one of his clubs in Frome just had a sort of cheese and wine appetizer party, but they had a mind reader go around entertaining somebody all the time. And in the meantime, people loved it. They laughed, they had fun, and they grew how many members, Stuart? 12 more members or something?
9 or 10 members, I think, from
Amazing.
that meeting.
So we do need to create diversity, but we can also, if we really can't, because it is a bit of a big gap in some cases, then let's plant new clubs and look at some of the different populations. We have a lot of diaspora populations surrounding some of our towns. Why not create clubs from those memberships and those communities? So the sum total, we become diverse, even if it's not club by club.
Thanks very much, Nikki. And I'm going to hand over now to Dennis.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. And I think it's actually Stuart who's going to give a quick thank you to Nikki.
It is indeed, Dennis. It's my pleasure, Nikki, to say thank you so much for taking time out. We know you're a busy lady. Nikki's in London this weekend for the Rotaract gathering. So thank you for taking time to speak to us. We love your passion and we love your enthusiasm and your energy for all things Rotary, don't we? And thank you also for sharing something of your own story about your mum and about your daughter. That was so lovely to hear. Did you notice that Nikki spoke about continuity? And I want to challenge each and every one of you this evening. If you've not yet got a president to follow you, make that your priority. Not because you've got somebody to follow you, but because you've got somebody to work with and to share with and to plan with. And I know there are a number of presidents in District 1200 that don't yet have a president to follow them in 2024. It's so important. So there's your challenge when you go back to your clubs this week. Now we have the opportunity for a 10-minute break before our first breakout room. We're going to be looking at planning your year. There will be a counter on the screen counting down, so please don't go too far. If you run, you've got time to go and put the kettle on and make a quick cup of coffee, but there will be things on the screen. So as I say, don't go too far. We'll see you in 10 minutes. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your evening, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Well, welcome back, everybody. We shall now go into our first discussion breakout on the subject of planning your year. As a new president-elect or as a repeat offender, it's a really important topic. Having a programme in place for meetings, projects, club raids, community support, youth projects, and so many other things is vital for a successful year. But so are also things like the finances, recruitment, and of course, just fun and fellowship, which we all enjoy in bucket loads, we know. So we now need to switch for 50 minutes to facilitated discussion. And on return, we shall take a few points of feedback. We haven't got too much time, so I'm going to select groups at random. So facilitators, please have a couple of significant points from your discussions ready to share, should I invite you to do so. So there's only going to be 3, so what's a 20% chance of getting chosen, something like that. So let's go into breakout. So if I can ask Wendy to cast her magic spell, and we'll see everybody disappear into their breakout sessions. There'll be a little reminder at the end to come back, and we'll see you in 50 minutes. Thanks very much. Thank you, and welcome back, everybody. Hope that was a productive discussion. We'll find out later when we get some feedback. But what I want to do now, though, is just ask 3 of the facilitators just to give me a point of discussion that you found was really useful in that particular topic. So I'm going to start with Dave King and your group. Can you give us a point of discussion that you found really useful in that one?
Dennis, I knew you were going to choose me. I knew it in the waters. Anyway, good evening, everyone. So the Norway jury, we talked about a couple of things. One, in terms of forming that vision statement, 3 of the group had actually set up surveys, one electronically and gone around the club. So it was about engaging with their club beforehand, before setting out that strategic plan. And then in terms of like the continuity, it was pointed out, as was said by Nikki and Gordon, about the difficulties of if you don't have continuity. That I've never heard this before. That if you don't have it, you have this process known as forming, storming, and performing.
Yeah.
So, which is all good reasons for continuity. Final thing was Anne from Rhondda. She's managed to draw in her president-elect, who's only been there 6 months, but she identified the talent early. She knows she can do the job, and in some ways you don't have to be in Rotary for years. If you're good enough, you're fine.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave. That's some good stuff there. And if I could ask Ray Bevan, if you can give us a point from your facilitated group. Oh, you're on mute, Ray. That famous Zoom saying.
Thank you, Dennis. I'm very used to being at the top of the list with a surname that begins with a B. Yeah, very interesting discussion with the president-elects I had in my group. One of the things that came out there was about breaking down the barriers that exist within clubs from successive presidents, where committees have been set up which seemingly are fairly inactive, but they want to have their say nonetheless. But that was one important point I felt, was that it's quite difficult to, when you're putting a strategic plan together and you begin to set goals, if you've got people who are blocking your way, it isn't very helpful. And that was the one point. And I think the other thing, the important thing that I felt came out was that teamwork is so important, which really sort of cuts across what I've just said. That you know, you really need to develop your teams, and they can be the ones who feed into the strategic plan. You know, everybody seemed to be very, very far into their development of their plan, and we had very interesting discussions.
Excellent. Thank you, Ray. That's brilliant. And third and final one then, Peter Maxwell. How did your group go? And you've got a point you want to bring to our attention.
Hello, Dennis. Yeah, thank you for that. I suppose the first comment that I would make, we had one president-elect who had been in the Rotary for 18 months and two that have been there for 3 years. So very, very young. Some dynamic ideas. One, in Swindon, they're going to approach the Sikh temple, diversity. They're going to go and talk to them about Rotary and try and get some Sikhs along, which is fantastic. Another one who's coming up for their 100th anniversary, the president is thinking about setting up a skateboarding competition with a special category, I think, for over 70s. But a lot of them, they have got their teams in place, and there was one though which was rather disappointing, that they've got 44 members and they can't find people who are prepared to take a lead. Which is sad.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you very much, Peter. Yeah, the diversity question is really good, and of course some areas in the country don't necessarily have the diversity immediately there, you know, but other parts of the country, like maybe London or Birmingham, have got far greater diversity already. But going to look for it is admirable. That's brilliant. Well done. Okay, thanks very much, guys. So tomorrow after the breakouts, we'll be choosing 3 other facilitators at random to give some feedback. But now it's my pleasure to ask DGE Mary Adams to outline what we've got coming up tomorrow morning.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Interestingly, I was approached when I had been in Rotary 6 months to be a DGN. So I'm proof that you can come through the ranks. It's been a wonderful journey, and we wish the president-elects every success for the future. So I'd like to thank you all the presidents-elects from all 4 districts for attending this evening. We hope you found the evening informative and that you will be able to join us for the rest of the weekend. I particularly would like to welcome Peter Rawcliffe from Southern Wales, who's going to be a virtual president of Maralal Rotary Club in Kenya. And he's here to observe our training this evening. Peter called me about 5 p.m. this evening and asked, could he join the training? Rotary truly is a global organisation, and it is a wonderful organisation to belong to. I would encourage you all to please try and attend all 3 sessions this weekend. You'll be inspired, and so in turn, you'll go back and inspire others. Please make every effort to join us tomorrow, Saturday, 9:15 start, where you will be treated to a wonderful Rotary International membership guru, Tom Gump. Tom is a past district governor, and he's also aide to the Rotary International president nominee, Stephanie Urchick. Tom is a great motivator, and he has created many cause-based new style clubs. He does a modern Rotarian thinking outside the box, and he has introduced many new members. Please join us in the morning to hear him tell his Rotary story. Our thanks this evening to everyone behind the scenes who have worked tirelessly to make tonight happen. The facilitators, everybody behind the scenes. Events like this don't happen without a lot of preparation. The DGEs and David Stewart and myself wish to thank you all. Good night, everyone. Thanks for attending this evening, and we look forward to seeing you in the morning. Thank you very much and good night.
Thanks, Mary. And, we'll see you in the morning, 9:15 for the pre-start videos. Enjoy the rest of your evening. See you tomorrow morning. Bye.
Night, night all.
Good night.
Night,
Bye.
night.